What's up, guys? Welcome to Blue Presents a podcast where I discuss all things music. And on today's show, I'm talking about 10 weird but true music facts. And I think I've got some here that people have probably never heard before. But before I get started with the show, I want to give a quick shout out to Scott and Jean of Crossing Rubicon and Ryan Foss for being on my last two episodes. Truly amazing guests, truly amazing interviews. I enjoyed both of those interviews. And I appreciate you guys. And remember, once again, if you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can reach out to me on Twitter at PodcastOfBlue, or you can reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook at Blue Presents a Podcast. What's up, guys? We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this show, 10 weird but true facts when it comes to music. Now, like I said, I think I've picked a few here that some people may never have heard before. Some people already knew, or maybe, give you some context to some ones that are out there that a lot of people don't really know. So I'm going to start with number 10. And number 10 is something I literally had to go do some research on and had to listen to make sure I wasn't freaking out. But apparently Wayne Static and Billy Corgan were once in a band called Deep Blue Dream. Now, when you think of Billy Corgan, you think of, obviously Smashing Pumpkins. You think of an indie style of kind of rock. When you think of Wayne Static, you think of Static X. You think of Push It. You think of just metal. So the fact that these two gentlemen came together to form a band that was kind of synth poppy, I guess, kind of weird sounding. There is some videos on YouTube that are super interesting and definitely not what I expected from either one of them. But kind of cool. So number 10, Wayne Static, Billy Corgan in the same band. Weird. All right, guys. Number 9 is Sepultura / Soulfly frontman Max Calavera provided the death roar for the Scorpion King in the 2001 Mummy Returns, which is pretty badass that they actually used a person's legitimate growling vocals to be the growls of a mythical creature played by The Rock in the Scorpion King. Now they did do, some, they added, I guess, some effects to it to make it sound even more sinister, which I don't even know why you would need to do that. He's already got brutal enough vocals, but this was a pretty cool one. This was pretty awesome to go back and check and kind of listen to it and just think that was actually a human's vocals that they just, messed around with. So that one was a cool one for me. All right. Number 8 is kind of man, I didn't know how to take this, or not really know how to take this. I didn't know how to explain this, because I have actually seen this before where a band goes out on tour, and the opening act is themselves in disguise. So, number 8 is the Beastie Boys. During the 1985 Madonna tour, the Beastie Boys came out and opened for themselves disguised as a metal band called Trip Hammer. They also did this on their License to Ill tour, where they came out disguised as themselves to open for themselves, which is pretty fucking cool because, as I understand, one of the members used to be in a band before, so I guess it kind of makes sense that they would come out and pretend to not be the Beastie Boys and be a band called Trip Hammer. Unfortunately, I don't think I was able to find anything on the internet music-wise, but if someone is able to find it, hey man, send me that link. I'd sure love to hear what they would do as a metal band and what that would sound like. All right, number 7 is kind of there's a lot of people in this category, but I thought it was kind of interesting, and it kind of speaks to some of these artists' ability. So number 7 is System of a Down, The Beatles, Guns N' Roses, Tupac, and DMX all have one thing in common, which is completely weird. We're talking a metal band, an old school 1950s, 60s band, if you will. I mean, they still were doing stuff in the 70s and 80s as well. Then you're talking about a glam metal band, and then you're talking about two gangster rappers, which is just fucking amazing. But all of them have the same thing in common, which is they both released 2 studio albums in the same year, and both albums were number one. So all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these artists all had 2 records come out in the same year, and both records debuted at number one, which that's fucking incredible. I thought that was a really, really, really cool one. All right, the next one is for all my death metal people, and it is Napalm Death holds the Guinness Book World Record for the shortest song ever for their 1986 song, You Suffer. The song lasts exactly 1.316 seconds. Yeah, that's, I don't even know if you call that a song, but it does have one line in the song, and it's You Suffer, and I believe So Why. Just, I don't know, kind of cool that a metal band as prestigious as Napalm Death has this kind of record, but also brings into my question, what technically qualifies as a song? Because if you go and listen to this song on YouTube, most videos are 3 seconds, and it's dead air followed by a couple of notes and then dead air. So I don't know if that really counts as quote unquote a song. But anyways, number 5 is A Day to Remember, and it's the heartbeat at the end of A Day to Remember's Welcome to the Family is actually the producer Andrew Wade's own heartbeat, just played slow down. And I think it's a really cool song, probably off one of my favorite albums from A Day to Remember. And you know, a lot of the times we can do some of this stuff in studios. For some people who do know how music works, you can, you know, probably find a heartbeat online on YouTube or something weird. But to know that they actually used a genuine beating human heart, I think is kind of fucking cool. And also their producer, you know, who I know they have mad love for, I'm sure he was excited to have his rhythms, if you will, on the record. So yeah, number 5, Day to Remember, real heartbeat. Interesting. Okay, so number 4, I thought this was just kind of interesting, and it's kind of weird, and it also gives you that side that some artists are not just talented at being artists, they also can have a real life job. And number 4 is Behemoth's frontman Nurgle is actually a certified museum curator in his native of Poland, which, like I said, once again, that is kind of really cool that it shows that this guy who puts on epic metal shows and does, you know, a style I'm sure a lot of people are probably not big fans of, but I think they're fucking awesome. But the fact that he has like a real world job is pretty fucking badass, and museum curator is pretty cool. If I'm not mistaken, that's the person who certifies something in the museum, if I'm not mistaken. If I am mistaken, fuck me, I guess. But anyways, we are getting down to the last 3. And the last 3, I think are kind of cool. They're kind of music history in certain notes that I guess some people don't even realize. So I'm going to start with number 3. And number 3 is, a lot of people don't realize that the first CD that was ever pressed in the United States, not in the UK or any other places, in the actual United States, was 1984's Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. That's right. The very first ever pressed CD, not pressed record, pressed CD, was Bruce Springsteen's Born in America. Or Born in the USA, sorry. I messed that one up. But I still think that's a pretty cool, like a pretty cool musical fact. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And once I kind of like was looking at it, I was like, huh, that's interesting. Because there was also another record that was pressed to CD the same year. But it was a various artists, kind of like I guess like a mixture compilation CD, if you will. But the first actual like artist who, you know, was to use CD was Bruce Springsteen. Number 2, once again, we're hitting you with some musical history here, and it's the first artist to ever be awarded the platinum certification was the Eagles, and it was for a greatest hits album in 1976. Once again, like I said, weird because it was created that year, as well as it went to a greatest hits as opposed to an album, which, I mean, obviously, platinum certification means you've sold, 10 million records or 1 million records. No, yeah, 10 million would be diamond. Okay, 1 million would be platinum. Okay, now that I've messed that up royally and confused everyone who's probably listening to it right now. But yes, platinum is 1 million records sold. Diamond is 10 million. Yeah, so I just thought it was kind of a cool, interesting fact that I'm sure a lot of people didn't know, and kind of weird. Like I said, Eagles, a greatest hits album, sold 1 million. So that's kind of cool and weird all at the same time. Now, my number one is, let's just say weird. It's a weird reason. It's a weird thing, and kind of sad. We actually got robbed of a musical moment that could have happened in history because of a llama. Okay, so my number one is Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury had a falling out because Michael Jackson kept bringing his pet llama to the recording studio. Like, this is the weird shit you can't make up. Okay, so apparently the story was that Michael Jackson at the time, so I'm assuming this was probably about 1981, 82-ish, because he was recording the Thriller album. Michael Jackson and Freddie Mercury were going to do a song together that was to be featured on this album. But while recording said record, Freddie Mercury phoned his manager at the time to let him know that he unfortunately was going to have to leave the recordings due to the fact that Michael Jackson kept bringing his pet llama into the recording studios. Now, let's just say it. Michael Jackson was a weird person in general. Extenuating circumstances and other things he's been accused of before. Put that aside for a second. But the fact that Michael Jackson decided that a pet llama was something you needed to bring into a recording studio. And Freddie Mercury, who I'm sure as a person probably was down for just about anything, and probably just looked at this situation like, why is this large mammal in a recording studio? The llama doesn't record vocals, and I don't know, it's just kind of a weird thing. And for that reason, it's even weirder because we could have had an epic Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury song, but because of a damn llama, let's be honest, it's because of damn Michael Jackson bringing a llama into the studio, we got robbed of that moment. And that is the craziest thing in the world. But like I said, these are some 10 weird but true facts about music. I thought this last one was probably the best one, which is why I ended with it, because I think it's the most hilarious thing in here. But also, what were some of the ones you were shocked by? Or what are some ones that you know that maybe I missed, and maybe next time we can go back and do some more weird facts about music and stuff like that. Like I said, once again, you guys can hit me up on Twitter at Podcast of Blue, or you can reach out to me on Facebook and Instagram at Blue Presents Podcast. Thank you guys for listening to today's show. Have a good day.